We are, of course, extremely honored with the presence of Deputy Chief Minister Christina Liu, who has been very supportive of many of our programs in Sabah, and Brother Dr. Ahmad Tutonji, one of the pioneers in modern Islamic da'wah. He has a PhD in petroleum engineering. It's very odd for petroleum engineering. PhD, studied in the UK, active in the States, and has been a phenomenal figure in terms of da'wah among students. This is important because it has relevance to the setting up of International Institute of Islamic Thought. The approach is not the traditional da'wah that we know. It's not just us against them, but an approach of da'wah with a firm commitment and belief, reassertion of the faith and moral values, as the exemplified in the Quranic verse that I read in the introduction, because it's the conviction that we need to do a service. But the essence is, of course, compassion, justice, to appeal to the Muslims to understand and wa'amila salihan, to practice. And he was instrumental in setting up, in modern terms, Muslim Students Association in the United States of America. And prior to that, prior to that, the Students' Federation in the UK, and then later on, International Muslim Students, and then World Assembly of Muslim Youth. And I was fortunate as a relatively slightly younger student leader, immersed in this, absorbed by looking at his efforts and his work. Now, later on, we brought in Al-Marhum Ismail Faruqi, one of the great outstanding Palestinian scholars who was professor of religion in the University of Philadelphia, United States of America. It's very pertinent. One of the great writings prior to the setting up of the International Institute of Islamic Thought was on Uruba, Arabism. You see, that he tried to present Islam as inclusive. It's not a racial or exclusivist viewpoint. And after that, when he set up the International Institute of Islamic Thought, one of his major writings about the Malayas of the Ummah. Malayas means essentially the tragedy of the Ummah. Poor education, lack of understanding of values, of the essence of religion, no intellectual tradition, which has been part and parcel of the Ummah, or the Ummatic concept. We understand, for example, the Muqaddimah of Abd Rahman ibn Khaldun, a great sociologist, historian, when he encapsulates the issue or the problem of humanity by looking at the stages from a nomadic civilization. How do we start? We start from tribes, which is Omran Baydawi, or the Badawi Peradaban. It's not Peradaban, Badawi tribe. And then, through understanding, through esprit de corps, through a positive asabiyah working together, they build a state based on the city, build a state with all its paraphernalia of governance, of economic, trade, education, etc., and evolve into what is termed as Omran Hadari, a modern civilization. Now this theory, okay, you start at the lower level, move up to become a civilization, but there is no guarantee that we can sustain this. Because after the third generation, arrogance of power, corruption, abuse, oppression, and all the other ills affect the leadership. As a result, there was a decay. Theory later was influenced Arnold Toynbee, the great historian, Western historian, in his cyclical theory of civilization. Now, Marhum Ismail Faruqi is very concerned about this development. His thesis is that we, the Muslims, the Muslim world, is afflicted with the disease that caused our decay. Poor education, poor understanding, even in terms of understanding of religion. There is a lot of, should I say, interpretation that runs contrary to the spirit of knowledge and education. So that was what Faruqi said in terms of referring to the issue of the problem, the disease, the tragedy, the malaise of the Ummah. Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman, who later was appointed, I appointed him as rector of this International Islamic University, wrote an earlier book called The Crisis of the Muslim Mind. So he said, actually, we are in a crisis. Our understanding of religion becomes confusing. You know, people are using religion to preach hatred, using religion to attack knowledge and science and digital technology now. So it is a crisis. People don't think, just follow. If you ask why, because that's what the sheikh says, or what the guru says, not to question. And therefore he considers this a major crisis. And the crisis begins with our mind. So the solution is education. So UMS and the students here, the professors here, of course, have this major responsibility to ensure that our understanding of the religion, how can it be a religion, Islam, that is anti-knowledge and anti-science? How can you talk about religion that goes against the spirit of harmony, that supports terrorism, that sows the seed of hatred towards the others, or Christians, or Hindus, or Buddhists? Because religion is about adl, justice. It's about rahmah, about compassion. How is it that we now see religion being promoted? Even here in Malaysia, you can see the debate that you use religion and race to preach differences and hatred. Whereas the Quranic verse, in terms of promoting this understanding, is not just tolerant. I tolerate the Christians, or I tolerate the Hindus, or tolerate the Buddhists. No. The Quranic term is lita'arafu, is to know, appreciate one another. Different language, different types, even different religion. You just understand. To know the differences. Because without compassion, without love and compassion, how do you talk to each other? How do you address one another in humanity? Because Islam is, because religion, we believe that we are Muslims, but we are also human beings. So we talk about a balanced community, which is, of course, I'm extending the argument, Hamid's initial argument, into talking about the community. What is a Muslim community? It's ummatan. It's a balanced community. A community that strives for excellence, but maintain that harmony. spiritual and material, knowledge and action. You must always remember that when you talk of epistemology, in the epistemology is a discipline of understanding words and concepts. When you talk about Ya ayyuhallazina amanu wa amilus salihat, you see, there's always iman and amal. It's an integration. So we talk about integration of knowledge. Islam is essentially promotes that integration. The initial articles and books like Tawheed by Faruqi always talk in terms of understanding Tawheed and economics, Tawheed and rituals, Tawheed and education. That means none of the disciplines can separate us from akhlaq, from ethics. Now, I mentioned just now, refer to the word, the Quranic, ummatan wasata litakunu shuhada ala nas wa yakuna ar-rasulu alaykum shahida. That you are a balanced community. Balance means between you and another person, you and the Muslims, you have relations. You and mankind, you have relations. You, to understand and appreciate the animal kingdom. You and nature, plants and trees. For example, when they start this massive destruction of our timber in the past, is rob and rob and rob and rape and rape and rape the jungles. There is a cost, because you lose that harmony, which is called a balanced community, that equilibrium. So there is a balance between man, a Muslim and a Muslim and humanity at large, and the animal kingdom and plants and timber, and also nature. So that is what we call integration in terms of this philosophical construct. Jadi maknanya kalau kita bicara tentang Islam, dia tidak boleh bawa permusuhan. Dia mesti dengan semangat mau menegakkan keadilan bagi semua. Bawa semangat kasih sayang di antara satu sama lain. Dan ini termasuk orang Islam dan bukan Islam. Malah haiwan dan tumbuh-tumbuhan. Kalau kita musnahkan sesuka hati, maka jadi ketidakseimbangan. Bukan umat wasat. Umat wasat ini umat seimbang. Kalau kita musnahkan bukit bukau dengan rakus, bermakna kita musnahkan keseimbangan. Bila hilang keseimbangan, hilang integration, maka berlaku malapetaka. Sama ada permusuhan antar manusia, atau kemusnahan, banjir, kerusakan, kemusnahan bumi. Sebahagian besar daripada kemusnahan bumi itu bukan semula jadi. Bukan nature, tetapi akibat dari angkara tamak haloba, kezaliman manusia. Nah, itu bagi saya apa yang pada asasnya apa yang dibicarakan tentang integrasi ilmu. Kerana ilmu ini, knowledge now, because we have digital technology, you have engineering, medicine, etc., etc. So it's very specialized. It is a necessity. Yeah. Not everyone can be just a generalist. You can be, even in medicine, you have a general practitioner, and then you start being a specialist in every field. But there is a danger if you take it to the extreme. What I referred to one great Spanish philosopher, Ortega y Gasset, cautioned, warns against the danger of over-specialization, including the universities. What do you learn? Engineering. What engineering? Chemical engineering. And you know only chemical engineering. Jadi, so he referred to the phrase barbarism of specialization. It becomes barbaric because you know nothing else. Well, our education should be kulliyah. Kulli, the Arabic word means is totality. You have to understand. I remember addressing you some months back, referring to the book by Harry Lewis, the former dean of Harvard, Excellence Without a Soul. Nobody can question the fact that Harvard universities have achieved a great excellence. In what? In academic pursuit, in various disciplines. But Harry Lewis said, there is certainly excellence, but without a soul. Kecemerlangan tanpa hati nurani dan jiwa murni. Excellence in their specific fields, but no understanding of humanity. No concern about justice. They have a big campus, enormous, relatively here, and the villages outside are a vast difference. And you have students at Harvard have no concern, no humanity, no empathy for the problems of the poor outside the university, or the problems encountered by the blacks outside. So what do you teach? You teach specialization. So his thesis is therefore is integration of knowledge. So integration of knowledge is not necessarily an Islamic phenomenon that nobody else can appreciate. No. It's as much as knowledge for knowledge's sake. Of course, we have our belief. We know that it must be integrated because that's what all Islam is about. It's shamil and kamil. It's comprehensive and perfect. So, remember Harry Lewis in Excellence Without a Soul. He was referring to Harvard University. We are referring to UMS. We may not achieve the excellence of Harvard, but if you have the clear mindset, a clear vision, then I believe, inshallah, UMS can produce students, graduates and scholars who are more rounded, better in terms of quality as a human being, qualified academically, but a good person, man and woman, who cares about humanity, who cares about justice, who is equally concerned about what is haqq and what is batil, what is ma'roof and what is munkar. Because we actually want to build and improve societies. Serius sangat, ha? Nah, saya nak bawa satu contoh. Of course, later on, of course, you are more familiar with some of the, I think I'll get Fauzan and Abdul Rahman to help popularize some of the publications of IIT. Then you will realize there will be some, for example, Sheikh Taha Jabir Al-Alwani. Alwani, for example, talks about manhaj Qur'ani. That you understand the Qur'an, and there is a worldview of the Quran. Essentially that. I mean, you read the Quran, and sometimes have no relevance. You memorize the Quran, but you have no relevance to your life. So, Sheikh Taha says, in Manhaj Qur'ani, you view society, the world, economics, livelihood, environment from that worldview. Which means, there is faith, there is accountability, there is equilibrium, there is justice. You may be a good engineer, but if you don't have sense of what is justice and what is right, you can never be a good person. So his Manhaj Qur'ani gives a very compelling case, understanding the Quran, interpreting it, and ensuring that we achieve hasanah or success in this world and in the hereafter. I want to give you an example why education, critical thinking is important. Let me show you the slides. I don't know whether my staff has the slides ready or I can get the board. Just an example, which is important that I now promote strongly. No, let's start with stagnation, economic stagnation. This, ada mic? Saya ni macam cikgu. Kalau tengok yang ini, this draft, the first one shows, you know, maybe too small for you. The red is Malaysia, which means, according to Boston Consulting Group, a research group, how do you analyze growth and success? SEDA, Sustainable Economic Development Assessment, mengkaji pertumbuhan ekonomi tidak hanya dari segi pendapatan per kapita, tapi dari segi pendapatan, perumahan, pendidikan, kesihatan, keselesaan hidup basic, asas. So, Sustainable Economic Development Authority. Now I'm talking about integration. This is all about integration. Because you take a specialized economic viewpoint, then we can talk about high growth. But you take into consideration education, health, housing, personal income, general welfare, then you realize, mana pergi dah? Tak sabar. Okay, then you realize Malaysia's economic growth for the last 10 to 15 years has somewhat stagnated. Maknanya tidak ada pertumbuhan atau perkembangan ekonomi dalam 10-15 tahun yang lalu. Nasib baiklah kerajaan lama kalah. Alhamdulillah. Otherwise, you will never know. I can never enter UMS and say these things to you. You will only know, Alhamdulillah, how great is our country, how developed is it, that's all. Now, that's why in the university, critical thinking is important. In the triple IT, we promote this. Okay. You must learn, absorb, and question. Now, if you question based on SEDA, from Boston Consulting Group, sustainable, mampan, Sustainable Economic Development yang mampan, dan mengenai pertumbuhan ekonomi yang mampan, dan penilaian pertumbuhan ekonomi yang mampan. Sustainable Economic Development Assessment. If you do this sort of assessment, then you realize Malaysia at this stage. Is it critical? Yes. Is it worrying? Yes. Must we do something? Yes. You have done something, and your parents have done something. That is to change the government. That's a start. So we must do something more to focus on the economy and to realize the economic development in an integrated manner, about moral values, about justice, about housing, etc. Then if we can take this issue forward, then that's what we have been saying. How do you accept a system, a company registering a timber company, taking so much timber, having 1 billion ringgit profit, and paying the workers 800 ringgit per month? This is crazy. You just take the timber from the jungles. You cut them, send by lorry, and the Kadazans and the poor villagers on the roadside will only get dust. They bring out the timber, kita dapat debu. This is not right. So therefore, when you do this, you look at this, you realize Vietnam is the second one. You can see Vietnam, how Vietnam, no, yang satu lagi, yang tadi. Before that. Vietnam ni, yang bawah tadi, dia naik. You see, Vietnam from a lower threshold level. Because we in the 1990s, not because I was finance minister, I'm just thinking, but in the 1990s we were doing much better. Number one per capita. Number one stock market. Number one foreign direct investments. Number one in terms of growth. What was our growth then? 9 to 10%. Even we reached even 11% per annum. Now it's 4.5 still. We're just taking over. We're still making the necessary adjustments under Tun Mahathir to move the economy forward. Indonesia much lower, but coming up. Now, my interest, of course, is not to talk about economics here, but to show to you what integration is all about. What critical thinking is all about. Without critical thinking, you will not know the entire assessment. Now, without understanding about the integration, then you will only accept economic growth purely in economic terms. No. There are moral issues. There are ethical issues. There are issues of oppression of workers, which is, in a Muslim context, is oppression, which is immoral position, or general standard of morality. So I think in the next slide, you will see in terms of, the other one. You see, can you believe this? Evolution of wealth to well-being coefficients. Vietnam has surpassed us. Vietnam was so low in the past. But now it's number one, number two, Malaysia. Indonesia is coming up very close. This is a major issue. Is poor governance. Because there is corruption. Leaders abscond too much money for themselves. Poor policies. Now what did they talk about? Hidup Melayu. No, Melayu takkan hidup kalau macam ni. Melayu akan hidup dengan mempertahankan prinsip akhlak. So when they talk about Malay survival, I am telling them that the Malays can only survive if they have clear policies and good ethics. Leaders must not be corrupt and steal money from the people. They must not oppress. They must care for the poor. They must have compassion for Muslims, for Christians, for Buddhists, for Hindus. That is a prerequisite of a good leader. And that's an ethical question. And if I take it from the Triple IT, well, Triple IT doesn't discuss this, you see. Triple IT strictly no politics. Ahmad Tutonji is getting worried. But I'm talking in the Malaysian context. Governance is an issue. It's a good governance. Strong willpower. Strong urge. Strong desire to combat corruption. Otherwise, this is the stage. Now, next. Now, so, what is our poverty rate? The government said for the last 40 years that our rate, based on 1971 assessment, PLI, poverty line income, garis kemiskinan, apa? Paras PGK, paras garis kemiskinan, is that? Saya mengaji orang putih silap ni. Saya nak test profesor je, tak tahu. Baik. PGK. Ini 0.4%. Dulu saya terangkan. Tak munasabah. Not realistic. We use a 1971 assessment. So we go and tell the people of Somalia, Zimbabwe, how great we are. In fact, if you use that figure, 0.4%, we are better than America, Japan, anywhere in the world. Poverty is very low. Betul ke? Student UMS percaya 0.4%? Huh? Hey. It's not true, right? Okay. Terima kasih. Depan sikit. Jangan tengok dia, tengok ni. Okay. So, Ini figure. Jadi sekarang ini, pakar ekonomi United Nations, Philip Ashton, UN Rapporteur for Poverty and Human Rights of the United Nations, said it should be at least 15%. Okay. Khazanah Research Institute said it's about a bit more. Martin Ravelion, Engku Aziz Chair, University Malaya, Professor of Economics, said slightly more. Then you have UNICEF, UN. Sudah. So, terima kasih banyak. Dia minum kopi di belakang. So, that's what I'm saying about critical thinking. Yeah? You say, our poverty is 0.5%. What is the basis? What is the calculation? What year? Is it realistic? So we now accept. So I invited, as chairman of the caucus on governance and reform of parliament, I invited all MPs and all senators and gave them this lecture to say that, look, we have to move on. And on the first day of parliament, I asked the Prime Minister, Tun Mahathir, whether we will change our calculation of poverty in an integrated manner. I was very pleased because Tun Mahathir finally, 2 weeks ago, stated that our approach is going to be multidimensional. Okay? Which means our poverty figures is much higher. Not only in Sabah or in Ranau or in Sampurna or Kudat, but also in Port Dickson and Manik Urai or Kapit. So kalau kita lihat seperti ini, dia tidak jadi umpamanya soal kaum. Ya. Orang Murut, orang Kadazan, orang Dayak, orang Melanau, orang Melayu, orang India, orang Cina, semua ada masalah ini. Paling banyak Melayu dan Bumiputera. The vast majority affects the Malays and the Bumiputeras. So we have a wrong diagnosis, we will be affected. But there are pockets of poverty among the Chinese and abject poverty among the Indian estate workers. So this is a strength. You see in an integrated manner, not integrated, and you have clear principle of what is justice, then you realize you have to help all our citizens in this country. Jadi mudah-mudahan contoh ini sedikit, saya tak mau sentuh lagi tentang pengangguran dan lain-lain ada tu. Itu kerja profesor lah, bukan kerja saya. Mereka boleh tambah, tapi saya nak ambil kesempatan ini menyangkan prinsip integrasi ini. Tapi kalau dalam Islam, integrated knowledge ini, dia tak boleh lari daripada prinsip akidah, akhlak, syakhsiyah. What is akidah? Is faith and belief. You have to believe. What is akhlak? There is formation of good character. And this is not only a personal view for the students, but also for the government, for the leaders. When we have low akhlak or poor akhlak, then corruption is rife. And there is no remorse. You have seen. Tak ada rasa kesal. Yalah, dia kata kalau buat apa jadi menteri kalau tak kompak. Ada yang fikir macam tu. Anwar, you menteri keuangan dulu berapa tahun? 8 tahun. Rugilah. Kalau tak curi balak. Jadi persepsi kita tentang akhlak itu rendah sekali. Ini mesti dibetulkan. Dan anak-anak muda mesti ada semangat dan kekuatan untuk bawa perubahan ini. Saya bimbang, negara akan hancur kalau tidak ada kebangkitan baru di kalangan anak muda untuk menuntut perubahan. Tapi bagaimana nak tuntut perubahan? Mesti daripada diri. Ibda' binafsik. Kalau Quran, ya ayyuhallazina amanu qu anfusakum wa ahlikum naro. Kalau nak rubah, mesti dari diri kita dulu. Jangan kena nak rubah orang. Kamu jangan rasuah. Tak boleh ambil. Kamu ambil. Kita ambil 5,000. Dia tak boleh ambil 5 juta. Tak boleh. Jadi sebab itu, integration ini dari kefahaman akidah, akhlak, syakhsiyah, kepribadian kita. Jadi saya ingat cukup setakat itu pandangan saya.